League of Our Own, Episode 4, Season 2. As always, joined by my great mate, Adam Blairy. Great to see you, man. How are you getting on?
Always good to see you, Goran. I don't know if you can see that jersey in the background, but it is an old Warriors jersey. The hair's a bit all over the shop.
You
but
need a haircut, mate.
Yeah, I do need a haircut, but this is what happens traditionally with myself, Goran. I grow my hair for a few years and then I just cut it all off and start all over again. But I'm really well. I'm busy, but loving it. Rugby league, man, the game that doesn't stop giving, and there's plenty to chat about, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, there is so much to talk about today. More on Dylan Brown. Big Nasty's return for Melbourne Storm. He's named on the extended bench there. Brandon Smith and where he might wind up. We've got a Warriors win over Manly. Who saw that coming? And Luke Metcalf, apparently he is a 7. And I suppose we need to front up over my horrible, nasty, disgusting multi that we put together last week.
Hey, Goran, I'm not gonna allow you to take the whole blame for it too.
Thanks, mate.
I
Chivalry is not dead. Thanks,
yeah.
Blairy.
I suggested a couple of things too, so we'll go down together, eh?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, and we also need to talk about Kalyn Ponga as well, because he's back in the news. And will he? Won't he play for the Kiwis? But first of all, something of a PSA, a public service announcement. A lot of people who might be tuning into us on the Run It Straight network for the first time are probably thinking, hey, hang on a second, what's going on? For those who have been listening to us on Spotify last season, it's nothing new. But when we pop up on Run It Straight, people are probably like, what's happening with Blairy? And this guy doesn't look like Willie Po Ching.
Or the funny guy sitting on the bench. Doesn't look like either of those guys.
Well, maybe I'm the funny looking guy, but I'm not sitting on a bench. I'm sort of in the corner of my house. But this League of Our Own is kind of combining with the Run It Straight network to provide a wider offering to the rugby league community. That's essentially what we're doing by teaming up with your crew at the Run It Straight network, Blairy. Is that right?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me, Goran, was to feed the audience or feed the public with more rugby league content. And yes, yourself and I have been doing League of Our Own now for a podcast for a year. We're in year 2, it's season 2. And I just wanted to chuck it into the network that I was already with. And I thought it was a great idea for myself and you to continue doing what we're doing by having the support of the crew that I worked with as well, and just giving more league contact. I also mentioned something last week on the Run It Straight Instagram page, and also for the network as well, about having a frontline fans, where fans can come into the page on YouTube. And we're always looking for more subscribers, and yes, we want more followers on our Instagram with League of Our Own podcast as well, where fans can come in and ask me questions around anything, whether it's gameplay rugby league or something they saw. Maybe it's community stuff, maybe it's just life in general, but there's an opportunity for fans to come in through there. And also I'm giving an opportunity for fans to win a couple of tickets to games during the season. And for this week, if you're a Knights fan, if you're a rugby league fan, or you're a Titans fan and you live on the Gold Coast,
mate. You're going to pay for my flights?
I'm definitely offering a couple of tickets to some fans that want to jump on there and ask some cool questions. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we just, again, Goran, like you said, it's an opportunity for both you and I to jump into this network on YouTube as well, and to continue giving and spreading the love of the game of rugby league.
Yeah, and that's what it is at the end of the day, just providing a lot of rugby league offerings to the rugby league fans out there. And while League of Our Own isn't what you were doing last year with Run It Straight, it is rugby league conversation for a Kiwi audience, and that's what you and I both love. Definitely. And hopefully everybody on the Run It Straight network can appreciate it as well. All right, let's get it underway, mate, because Kalyn Ponga is back in the news. Buzz Rothfield has written an article. He is in line for Kiwi selection, but I feel like we've been here before. It's been talked about, it's been a near thing, and it hasn't happened. You're in a really privileged position, mate. Like, this couldn't have worked out any better if we tried, man. If we planned it, we wouldn't have done it this well. You're now with the Newcastle Knights. Kalyn Ponga walks past your door every so often, and you're like, hey, mate, come on in here. Let's talk about Kiwis. I happen to be an assistant coach of the Kiwis. What is the latest with this situation that Buzz has not unearthed, but he's brought back to the surface?
Man, he is one, if not the most entertaining player in our game. He can do things that not too many others can, and I'm in awe of what he can do on the field. And, I get to work alongside someone of his caliber every single day. And the opportunity to be able to have him in the Kiwi space would be phenomenal. I think he would fit in there seamlessly. I think he's on a journey of, finding who he is and what he wants to do and where he wants to represent. I know there's so much talk just about everything, as well as obviously rugby league, whether it's, chat around the Roosters. Obviously, Dylan Brown has come into the conversations as well. There's thoughts of, winning premierships. That's his, his dream. There's thoughts of other, rugby union trying to get hold of him. There is so much going on in Kalyn Ponga's life. It's crazy. And then you just add this to the mix.
Yeah.
And yes, like you said, I am literally in a privileged position where I sit on both sides, whether it's with the Kiwi space and whether it's at the Knight space. And like for me, and I've been able to play with Kalyn at Māori All-Stars way back long time ago when I was playing rugby league, but also coaching him and having him in the Māori All-Stars space. And man, it would be crazy if that one day comes and he's representing New Zealand and playing for the Kiwis in the test match. And, it's not so long now that, the World Cup will be here 2026. And if Kalyn Ponga's name was to be in that squad, it'll be someone like, I guess, Keanu Kinney, who we spoke about in the All-Stars, and being able to room me up with him and buddy up. He is an idol to a lot of those younger fullbacks, or either Māori or Kiwi kids coming through in that space now. And man, definitely keen to just tap on him and just say, hey, what's your thoughts? But I get it, man. There's so much pressure gone. There's so much pressure on him to do whatever he wants because he is elite. That's his only problem. He's too good. He is a superstar, and everyone would love to have him part of his team. And I know that the Aussies, and I've seen Mal come out and say already over here that there's no way he's playing. I think they're scared.
When I think about the spine that the Kiwis could have at their possession, I'm frothing, Blairy, because you'd put two recent Dally M medal winners in the same spine. Kalyn Ponga, won it in 23, and I know that you and I spoke about Sean Johnson being robbed that year. But look, the medal was around his neck. So you got Kalyn Ponga, who's one of the greatest players in the game at the moment. He's won the Dally M recently. And Jerome Hughes wearing the 7, partnering Dylan Brown, who he will play with at the Newcastle Knights from next year and for who knows how long after that. And then in the 9, take your pick. Is it Phoenix Crossland? It's probably more like Jeremy Marshall-King. But that looks like a really awesome spine that you can rely on for hopefully years to come.
Yeah, I definitely think that the combinations of Phoenix, Dylan Brown, and Kalyn could be something, like you said, to froth about moving forward.
I mean, you get to froth over that at the Knights next year, mate. So that's great for you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I just think for New Zealand Rugby League in general, you're now talking about the elite of the elite when it comes to your country. And, I know his passion is Queensland, and he loves that space, and he will be doing everything possible to get back in there as well. And like you said, and like I've said, I just hope one day that'll be, and hopefully that soon, that he gets to represent New Zealand and play for our country and his home and his country as well.
But if it came down to it, would Kalyn be willing to walk away from Queensland representation?
I think that's a question you'll have to ask Kalyn, Goran.
Well, can you ask him next time he walks into your office, mate, and then you can get back to me next week?
I just think I think that's his passion, you know what I mean? Like, his passion is Queensland, and I know how much he loves representing that space, and every time he plays for his state, he actually kills it, and I think that's where his first and foremost focus will be. But at the same time, there's got to be something and subconsciously in the back of your mind that if there was ever an opportunity to choose to play for New Zealand, and I'm assuming, this is me assuming, I'm not saying this is true or not, but he hasn't represented Australia. His passion is Queensland. He's also played Māoris. I'm guessing there's somewhere down the line, if I'm just putting all the lines together, maybe it's New Zealand. Maybe it's New Zealand that there's a piece missing. But like we both said, man, he would be a huge addition to New Zealand, and he is a quality player and an elite at that is. And I would be excited to have him part of our crew.
I think we all would, mate. He would be a huge addition and a very welcome addition at that. Kalyn Ponga obviously connecting with Dylan Brown next year as well, which would just further enhance the Kiwi prospects, I suppose,
Definitely,
for the years to come. And just on Dylan Brown, I know we've gone on about him and his situation an awful lot. The last couple of days, though, Blairy, I've almost been a little sad to see what's happened, what's been written, what's been said about the scenario. Like, I'm an Eels fan. I've always said that. You know this. But I feel like we've gone way too far now. We need to just shut our mouths. Eels supporters need to understand this is what he's chosen to do. Rightly or wrongly, he's taken the deal with the Newcastle Knights, and that's where his future lies for the 10 years after this one. But that's the important thing about this. After this year, he's with the Knights. So all those Eels fans that were at CommBank Stadium at the weekend booing him, they're not creating an environment that's conducive to winning football games. And I know this is a side that is really under the pump, and they are undermanned, understaffed, and you can talk all you want about releasing Regan Campbell-Gillard, who was their clubman of the year, to the Titans, and Gutho to the Dragons. Talk about that. Mitch Moses, and apparently his injury is worse than first thought, and he's not coming back to round 9. Forget about all of that stuff. You've got to try and find a way to win games right here, right now, with the squad that you've got. Dylan Brown is one of the better players in that squad. Just shut up and support the guy. Like, can you imagine turning up this weekend and it's Parramatta against the Bulldogs and it's their arch rivals from way back? I don't think that it's going to be overly helpful if the people who are still hating on Dylan Brown, that are Eels supporters, continue to hate on him when he comes up against the Bulldogs. And, you know, like, he's a professional sportsman, mate, and I think a lot of people think it's just water off a duck's back, but it is not. As soon as you see something written or you hear something said about you and what you've done, it affects you, man. And I think you can speak to that and what you went through at the Tigers. It is hard, and it's not just social media, it's media in general. I think it's time that people got off his back.
Yeah, I think, you know, the story we did, Goran, I thought that, I guess, giving the audience a little bit of an insight to who he is, and not many people obviously get to meet Dylan and know him as a person, but I thought what we said about Dylan and where he's come from and what he's been able to represent through his early teenage years to continue to being where he is, and how much of the younger kids back in his area would idolize someone like him. I feel like that's a lot more important than what's going on and all the noise that's happening at the moment, because we forget and we don't understand upbringing of a lot of people. We don't see the people outside of the footy space, and all we see is the 80 minutes on the field. And like you said, I had plenty of times when I was a player that people said things about me, and until it actually becomes just, I guess, and I know it comes with the territory, and you come with obviously the pressure of being a professional athlete, and this is your job, and you have to turn up and perform. And I've seen some things on him saying like he always goes out there to give it his best, and no one ever goes out there to not play well. You know what I mean? Things just don't go your way sometimes. But I think, like you said, I think He's made his decision. He has to lie in it. We all have to move on. I know people are passionate about it. I know fans pay big money to see these guys play. But I think, like you said, I think it's time to move forward. Like, there is no other better six than him in their club right now that's going to just say, oh, well, Dylan, how about we just let you go and see how Parramatta go then? You know what I mean? Like, he's going to cop the blame for everything as long as Mitch Moses is on the sideline because of the public scrutiny that he's now put under because of the deal that he's made. And it's always going to be, is he a 6 or is he a 7? You ask Dylan, he'll say he's a 6. You know what I mean? But I think he doesn't deserve, and no one actually deserves to be booed every time they go out on the field. Yeah, I think it's time to move forward. Otherwise, Parramatta are just going to keep speaking about this every time they lose a game. They've got a game to win this weekend. There's no doubt about that. This Bulldogs team's coming for them. And there's no mercy in our competition. It doesn't matter what's happening on the outside, who's in the team. Other opposition don't care. So the more that people can just move forward and allow these guys to go out there and express themselves and get into the systems and structures that Jason Riles wants them to play, this will kind of take away the noise that's happening at the moment. The quicker they get a win, go on for you and all your other mates that are Parramatta fans, then you guys will be happier.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my hope, my sincere hope is that all of those boo boys and girls from the weekend just gone, they got it out of their system. And then now, for the betterment of the team and the club, they put their feelings to one side and they actually get in behind not only Dylan Brown, his teammates, and Jason Riles. On the subject of lightning rods for controversy, because I feel like that's what Dylan Brown is, at least momentarily, Brandon Smith. He's recovering from injury, but he's been a little bit talkative, as the hectic cheese tends to be, and he's been talking about Wayne Bennett and a possible combination with he and his new Rabbitohs, and apparently within the next 48 hours a deal is said to be done, and Brandon may have played his final game for the Roosters. Too much off-field stuff, and probably a little bit of not playing the right position.
Yeah.
And this is somebody, like Cameron Smith, who you know really well, who played 9, probably the best we've ever seen it. And he was saying, well, Brandon isn't a hooker. He's more of a 13 bench utility, right? So if Wayne Bennett is smart enough to properly utilise the cheese, then it could be a really good move all round.
Yeah, I think when you look at his time at the Melbourne Storm, that's how he was used, eh? He was used as that 14 that can cover like your middle front row position, lock, hooker if need be at a pinch. And that's where he played his best footy. And I think maybe when Roosters signed him, they signed him as a 9. He's he's a runner more so than a passer, and he isn't that crisp off the ground when it comes to his 9 passing as some of the best 9s in the competition. But what he can bring you is his leg speed, his toughness in defence, his ability to break tackles and to challenge the line and attack defensively as well when he's carrying the ball. So maybe he was utilised in the wrong way. Maybe he didn't reach the heights that the club wanted him to get to, the Roosters. But he'll definitely have to get his head down and bum up when the announcement comes out that he's going to go to South End. Sometimes that's what it is, Goran, is just, taking a bit of humble pie and getting your head down, bum up and working hard again. Finding, I guess, the big thing is finding that the love for that game, mate, because he's gone through some crossroads on and off the field over the last few years being at the Roosters, and then obviously to compound that is the ACL injury. And we all know the hectic cheese loves to talk in the media through either podcasting or just in general. Yeah. He's a big talker anyway, and sometimes finds himself talking about oppositions. I think he did the same thing when he was at the Storm, talking about the Roosters at the time. You know what I mean? So he's doing the same thing again now, which obviously gets people offside. And I guess, but at the same time, this is the kind of the character he is, and you want to encourage people to be themselves. I feel like, especially for, I guess, someone like Brandon, who is of Kiwi culture, we're normally quite reserved people, and we don't really say much. And when someone talks a lot and says things, everyone's like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like we shut it down pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's that whole sort of cutting down tall poppies, right?
Yeah. And I think, when someone's different, and even if it's our own people, when someone's different, everyone's looking at you weird, like you're a different person. But sometimes this is who they are as characters, and I think this is who the Hectic Cheese is. He loves being loud. He loves everyone knowing what's going on, and he's open and honest about everything he says. So he's going to have some challenges, definitely. Going to have some challenges. His mindset needs to change, but I think he can make a meal of, or like a good opportunity to go to Rabbitohs and actually have a good spot there underneath Dwayne Bennett and some good people around him.
Well, here's hoping that if the deal is done and he's off to the Rabbitohs at some point this year, maybe he can re-find himself to a certain extent, his enjoyment of the game and playing in a system and under a coach that gets the best out of him. Because, like Brandon Smith on his day is
damaging.
Damn near unstoppable. And
yeah.
a fit and a really good Brandon Smith is massive for the Kiwis.
Yep.
So let's see that in 2025.
Definitely.
Talking of damaging, big nasty. Nelson Asofa-Solomona. Oh, yeah, welcome on back. He's on the extended, what do they call it, the reserves for the Melbourne Storm in this NRL Grand Final rematch. We get it on a Thursday, which is weird. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Nelson, he's been out of the game for a long time since the shoulder charge into Lindsay Collins. I've done that because I wasn't convinced that it was a shoulder charge at the time. I don't know why he got 5 weeks, but I kind of do. He challenged the charge and then he failed. But five games for that was, it's idiotic.
It'll just be good to see him back out there in the field. Yeah. I just love players that have a presence on the field. And he's one of those guys, similar to like someone like Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, who was a phenomenal player. But man, when he was on the field, you knew he was on the field. So for me, it's having him back out there, being nasty and being a presence. So I think that only adds to what the Melbourne Storm are already doing right now.
Just weird that it's on a Thursday. I feel like a grand final rematch where you've got Storm and Panthers. Surely that's a Friday night special, a Saturday night special, or a Sunday afternoon. Why are they putting it on a Thursday? And then I thought, well, maybe they chuck it on a Thursday because they want ratings to be better on a Thursday night. Maybe a lot of people are watching at the weekend. So is it kind of like trying to boost Thursday night ratings?
Oh, I've got no idea.
What's the justification there?
It'd have been nice on a Friday afternoon, like the second game on a Friday, because there's a bit of a build-up to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do like having something early on a Thursday to come home to and look forward to. Hey, grand final rematch Thursday night. Yeah, a bit late for you fellas back home in ZA.
It's nice for you, but terrible for us. Like if we want to watch it and regular people going to work on a Friday, blurry-eyed, it's a tough ask.
Well, it's 8 o'clock for us. What's that over there, mate? Like it's hard for our New Zealand audience, isn't it? Anyway, and what's that, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night over there? And if you got work the next day, it's a midnight go to bed or you fall asleep on the couch. So unfortunately for our Thursday nighters back in New Zealand, over here in Australia, it's an 8 o'clock game. Beautiful. Sit up and watch this big grand final rematch. Can't wait for it.
That's a classic one, falling asleep on the couch. You've been waiting up all night
plenty
for this
of
one,
those.
and then you get to kick off, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I can't keep my eyes open, and you're snoring by half time. You wake up, it's
2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go, and the scoreline, and you're like, man, did they win?
Yeah, I missed it. I missed the whole game. Oh god.
It's one of those ones, man, back home. But this is a big one, and good to see Nasty in that lineup.
What about the Wars? I mean, it's taken a while
Oh,
for us to get to the Warriors, but there's plenty to talk about, obviously. But what a bounce back that was against the Manly Seagulls. I think you and I both thought that on the evidence of what the Seagulls produced in round one, they were going to wipe the Wars. The forward pack effort was so much better than what we saw in Vegas against the Raiders. And then that therefore allowed the likes of Chitty and definitely Luke Metcalf to stand up and run the team. And I think credit to the Warriors who
yeah.
bounced back. Andrew Webster, he stuck true with his squad. He was justified in doing so because, yeah, it was a wonderful performance against a team that a lot of people are picking for the top four this year.
Yeah, definitely. I did say that they'll be better in that last week's game, but like we both said, I thought Manly after their performance were just going to be too good. Although I knew the Warriors will come back and have a better performance, I just didn't see Manly doing what they did. If I look back, man, I feel like they had a real steely focus. The entrance, obviously, the thank you to Toy Harris, which I thought was one of the best I've seen. One of the best I've seen in the game from a club, thanking someone of his stature for everything that he's done, not only for the Warriors, New Zealand, but the game of rugby league on home soil, done even better. But the way they walked out of that tunnel, the two co-captains, James and Mitch Barnett, I just thought you could see it in those two eyes when they walked out that they meant business. And I guess topped off with what they did with Tohu and recognised him. And then on the performance that they put in, they would be, I guess, proud of their performance. And yes, there's going to be moments that they're going to want to get better at, but it was nearly a complete performance from a lot of the players compared to the week before. And Fish was the leader. I thought Mitch Barnett jumped on the back of him. And I think Fish, I reckon that would have been his most meters and carries he's done in a long time. If I go back through, and I went back through a few of his stats, and I don't think he gets too many meters over 100 and too many carries over 10, but there was some intent, and it allowed the Warriors to play to their systems and structures. And when I've seen in the past the Warriors play, when they play short to their centres, previous years Rocco Berry, Adam Pompey, now Ali Lautaua, that's where they create havoc because they've got centres that can punch holes. And I really liked their performance. I thought they stood up. Luke Metcalf, great kid, and can play football, and proved to a lot of people that, you know, if you have the right mindset as a team, then the team can go to work and go through their structures and systems.
Couple of things. The presentation pre-game, it was reminiscent of like a WWE entrance, right? I thought I was watching Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns going at it, you know? Like there was that kind of level of intensity pre-game. Yeah. It was awesome, mate. The lights show and all that sort of stuff. And it just really set the tone for a really awesome Warriors performance. And one person who I don't know if we've mentioned to this point, Aaron Clark. His efforts were, massive, right? And this was one of the criticisms that came out of the Vegas performance, where we didn't see one of Aaron Clark or Dylan Walker on the field at all times. And so that was kind of a subtle little tweak that Andrew Webster performed, and boy, did it pay dividends, right? Because Aaron Clark was a monster from the start, and I'm assuming that he will just lock that in for the foreseeable future, that Aaron Clark is your starter and then Dylan Walker comes in off the bench. I thought that worked a treat.
I think, I know we're praising the Warriors a fair bit here with their performance, and so we should, and so is everyone else. But the one thing that I'm just going to chuck this one out there, my question is around their bench rotation and what that looks like moving forward. I think those two middle players played up to around 60 minutes, both Fish and Mitch Barnett. They both played around 60 minutes. And I've seen someone like Leka Haliasima, Dimitrik only play around about their 17, 20. As the season gets on and the competition only gets tougher, I'd love to see how that rotation ends up working out for the Warriors and whether those guys get a little bit more minutes in the game. I know the competition's tough, but they're in the team for a purpose to make a difference. Maybe it is only 17 minutes for both players. Maybe that's how he's going to use them. But the older boys, as this competition gets on, there's a lot of football still to be played. The legs start getting a bit heavy and tired. The question I guess that's my question is, how does that rotation end up being as the season gets on?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because, if you're Mitch Barnett, James Fisher-Harris, you don't want to be under that kind of pressure for the entire length of the season. And when you look at other teams and what they're doing with their middle rotation, it's not as heavily favoured to your starters as it is at the Warriors. Early days, admittedly, and
Yes.
you'd like to think that with the experience, Halasima and co, they get more game time, more minutes under their belt, then maybe that amount of time that they spend on the field is increased, and therefore the workload on the big boppers is reduced. Because you don't want it to get to a point where it's like Jason Taumalolo in the early days of North Queensland, where everything was just piled on top of him. God, this guy's an absolute freak. You can just chuck everything at him. He can play for 80 minutes. So I'll let him go then. And what did it do to him? It broke him down. So
Well, that's it reminds me of, and I know he's such a great player, Tohu Harris. Every minute of every game, for every time that he was playing for the Warriors, every time he put that jersey on, and it's most probably to the detriment of himself because he actually can play footy and he's actually fit enough to play 80 minutes. But eventually that takes a toll on your body, consistently banging it up, making tackles, making hit-ups. His workload was always high. And I'm saying if Mitch Barnett and James Fisher-Harris's workloads start getting to that, 18 carries consistently every week, and you're making 25 plus tackles every week through the middle of the park, there has to be some leeway somewhere. So that's all I was thinking. I'm thinking that they're doing such a good job, and they are fit, and they can play big minutes. And someone like Terrell May, that who's doing it at Tigers, is someone. I think he played 71 minutes on the weekend. So they are getting more, I guess, athletic, more fitter. They can move better. But if you have a heavy reliance on those players consistently for 27 weeks, then something's got to give.
Absolutely. Terrell may have come up with 71 minutes on his official stats sheet, but I think you can take off 25 minutes because nobody played for the first 25 minutes of that game.
Definitely.
It was.
What was that?
It was a lump of you-know-what, mate. A steaming pile of poo. It was so bad, man. Everybody just dropped the ball.
It was hard.
Everybody dropped the ball.
It was actually hard to watch, guys.
It was impossible to watch, mate. But I put myself through it, of course.
Yeah.
It was a shocking performance from both teams in that first sort of 20, 25 minutes. Speaking of really poor performances, I think we need to put our hands up. Well, maybe me, or are you claiming ownership of it?
Yeah, we're together.
In it together?
Well, when we talk about it, we're actually in it together.
Betcha this happens for the last round. Well, it didn't happen.
No.
we picked 3 of 8 results. So
But
needless to say, the multi did not come in, Blairy.
The multi didn't come in for you, but I reckon there was so many other people out there that did the same, Goran, to be honest. I reckon we weren't the only ones. We look too much into the form guide and we look about, who they got or past experiences. Sometimes it's just, you got to think about if they've had a bad performance. Maybe we just got to make things up and just have a little bit of a stab in the dark, I reckon.
All right, well, what are we making up of this round here, round 3? Betcha this happens round 3, and it gets underway with the NRL Grand Final rematch of 2024. That round 1 performance from the Storm against the Eels, especially that first half, was scintillating. It was electric stuff. And I really do feel like they're going to do the same to the Penrith Panthers. What happened against the Roosters, is that an indication of what's to come for them? Have they finally lost too many players to keep their standards as high as they've been over the last 5 years? I don't know. I'm scared to make a prediction here, but my inclination is to go towards your old team, the Melbourne Storm.
Oh, geez, man. All right. Like this is what we've done. This is what we've said about the last time you've put something together. We went on form. Form. But the teams that played poor actually turned up the following week and proved everyone wrong.
Right.
So what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to go against you.
No.
I'm going to say Penrith. I know they're down some players. Fullbacks out. They got
Dylan Edwards is out. Dane Laurie's playing fullback.
Casey McLean's coming for his brother Jesse, and that's must be most of the changes. But they're going to be filthy. They're going to be filthy on their last performance, and I'm thinking about all the other teams that lost round one and how bad they were. I'm going to say that the Panthers are going to come down, want to make a difference, and want to go in there with a better performance than what they tossed up. They'll be hurting. They'll be dirty. But I want you to stay with what you think. But this is I'm going against what we've done in the past and suggested form teams. I'm going for the teams that lost this time and looking to try and improve from the past game.
I like your logic, but I'm locking in the Storm. Okay.
Go for it. See ya. Come Thursday night, you'll be messaging me saying, "We're done.
What have I done?
We're done again."
Yeah. First game in and we're screwed. Hopefully we get to the second game on the Friday night and it's the Warriors and the Roosters. Another game that really scares me. I don't know what's going to happen here because the Roosters, with all of those kids, all the inexperience in the world, managed to tip up the Panthers. James Tedesco, Trent Robinson saying that this is the best Roosters win that they've ever been involved in. James Tedesco saying that. He's won premierships with this side. And to say that was his best Roosters win, wow. That's saying a lot, mate. And then the Warriors coming off the back of Vegas and tipping up the Sea Eagles. I feel like it's another Warriors win, personally. If they can replicate their efforts against the Roosters, what they did against the Sea Eagles, there's no reason why they can't win at home at Mount Smart Stadium this Friday night, Blairy.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think really going to be hard for the same Roosters team to turn up and have that same, I guess, intensity and mindset that they had going into the Penrith Panthers. If I'm thinking about it, I feel like back at home for the Warriors again, hopefully they're just not living on the performance that they dished up last week and they can actually continue to build on their performance. And I know we didn't speak about Wade Egan, but he's, I think in 2023 he was spoken about for Origin, you know what I mean? And early in 24, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah. But I feel like he's getting back to where that was. And a lot of the football comes off the back of what he creates. So I think quite similar to you is that the Warriors will be too strong at home in front of their home fans. Again, hopefully consistently putting in the performance that they're happy with.
Yeah. Warriors for us. And then the last one that we'll look at in depth is a match that you would have played in. Broncos, Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos coming off of a very disappointing loss to the Raiders in Canberra. And then the North Queensland Cowboys they're almost on a par with the Eels in terms of what they've done to start the season. But I suppose in these fixtures, these massive rivalry games where it's Queenslanders against Queenslanders, you can throw that form book out the window and it's just a case of what happens on the night, right?
Most of the time. Most of the time. And this one's... these were For me, this game, Cowboys Broncos, were the most enjoyable games that I've played in, because it didn't matter if you're winning at halftime that you would win the game, or you'd know that it'd go down to a drop goal to win the game. And I think it's going to be quite similar, Goran. I reckon it's going to come down to maybe a penalty, maybe a drop kick early in the last few minutes of the game to take it away from each other. This is the derby of the rounds. These guys love playing each other, no matter, like you said, the form of the pass. They're both hurting these teams, and they need to find some form real quickly. And these games seem to change the season around for both teams. So I'm thinking Cowboys need this one desperately, and I'm gonna say the Cowboys might get this one done up at Suncorp. I know that the Broncos are going to be hurting. I know Madge Maguire will be getting stuck into them, but I think Drinkwater's going to hit a droppy and make
It's like history repeating. So Ben Hunt's going to drop the ball under his posts.
I feel like, yes, the Broncos are going to be disappointed in their performance, but so the Cowboys have been disappointing this year. And it's we're only into round 3, So I think they're having, they've already dropped players. They're bringing players back in. They're trying to find who they are this year in 2025. I don't think it's too early to ride them off that they can get a job done at Suncorp.
All right. Well, I'm going against you.
Yes, definitely do.
I'm going Broncos, your old team. And as we quickly run through the rest of Betcha This Happens for round 3, I'm tipping Sharks over the Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs, their unbeaten little streak comes to an end. Dolphins, who are finally back home and they play really well in Redcliffe, they'll beat the Tigers. I've got your Knights tipping up the Titans on the GC.
Let's go.
I'm finally tipping my Parramatta Eels. I feel like this is the kind of powder keg that they will find a way to win against the Bulldogs. So tipping the Eels, and then Manly Seagulls are the final one for me. That's odds of $47.61. Put a sly $5 on, and it's paying $238.08.
Not
for
bad.
An 8-leg multi. Betcha This Happens for round 3. Blairy, I think we're done. Are we done for episode 4, League of Our Own?
Definitely. But like always, Goran, we could sit here and talk about rugby league for hours. But our time difference doesn't allow us to do that, because you're doing all the work. You're doing all the work, mate, and you're doing a great job, Goran. I appreciate how much you do, man.
Yeah, at 5'11" and 85 kilos, I was definitely made for heavy lifting, mate. I mean, I wish I had your physique for this kind of heavy lifting, but I don't. But look, I do it for the love of you and this show and the league fans out there. I think it's important that we talk about the great game of rugby league and obviously have a very, very heavy Kiwi slant on it. And so, for the people who have tuned in, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on the Run It Straight network on YouTube, we appreciate you. I appreciate you, Blairy.
Awesome,
we'll do it all again in 7 days, man.
Without a doubt, man. Thank you to everyone, and thanks to you, Goran.